This is part 3 of 1 year in review with my Ioniq 5, and we're talking about everything that's broken or has gone wrong with my Ioniq 5. Now you might notice this is not my Ioniq 5 because it's a loaner, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So even though this is not my Ioniq 5, we can still do this video because if anything, I can show you how stuff in here is not broken and then compare it to how it is broken in my car. So let's start on the other side. So one of the very first things that happened in my car was this little door seal. In mine, it was kind of flipped out like this. So clearly this Ioniq 5 does not have the loose rubber seal issue like mine did. Let's check the other side. Yep, this one looks nice and tidy. The second issue that I've had on my Ioniq 5 has to do with this trim right here above the windows. Now you'll notice it's kind of a flat matte black on this Ioniq 5, whereas mine in the limited trim is this glossy finish, and mine has started to peel right along these edges, whereas this one looks great. Let's check the other side as well. Then my dealership went ahead and placed an order, replaced it, but then it started looking like this. And I tried to push it back in, but it wasn't going back in itself. So they had to place a new order for one. But you can see it doesn't do that for this SE model. Again, we'll check the other side. Nope, everything here sits nice and tight. Again, nice and tight. Well, the next thing that went wrong with our Ioniq 5 is actually this piece right here. So in my Ioniq 5, it actually wiggles. But this one's pretty nice and tight. And the next issue has to do with this driver's seat, which apparently moves a little bit. Now I haven't felt it in this SE model, but I definitely feel it in my limited trim. What's happening is that when I accelerate or decelerate, I feel it shift just slightly to the front or to the back, and that's kind of a weird feeling to have, or a kind of unsettling feeling to have when you're driving. I've been on the forums, and apparently other people have felt this issue as well, and there's actually an open TSB in Canada, but not here in the US. Now I do plan to do a separate video just for the driver's seat, so as always, make sure you subscribe to get the notification for that. And the next issue that I had with my Ioniq 5 has to do with the vehicle to load, which this car does not have on the inside. So limited trim comes with a vehicle to load outlet down here, right underneath the middle seat of the second row bench. And since day one, I would plug something in and then it would just kind of short itself out. There is a loose connection, so any kind of wiggling to that connection would make things stop working. So they went ahead and placed an order to replace it, and then a couple months later they had the part, installed it, and I actually have not even had a chance to test it yet. We just don't use it very often, and I just didn't get a chance to try it before I sent it back into the dealership for the next issue. And that takes us back outside. And the next two issues have to do with the rear part of this car. So my Ioniq 5 from the factory had a pretty big gap underneath here, or at least it just didn't really match the other side. This one though matches pretty well. pretty even seam or gap, I would say. Mine from factory though, the right side had a bit of a drop, substantially lower than the other side. And well, the dealership then actually was able to fix it. And they were somehow able to push this panel back up, but in the process, they scratched mine right here. Here's a photo of that. But the bigger issue for me was that they could not fix this part. Now in this SE model, yeah, looks okay. I would say it's not that bad. If I had bought my car and it looked like this SE model, I don't think I would have put up a fight. I would have been fine with it. But my limited trim from the factory, this part was a little worse, and so we started complaining. They took a look at it, they tried to fix it, and then they made it worse. So the liftgate essentially has ballooned into a pretty big issue for us because, as I mentioned, they've made it actually worse over time. And they haven't exactly taken responsibility for it. They haven't been able to fix it, that's for sure. But anyways, I'm going to cover that in a separate video of its own because I think it deserves, you know, kind of an in-depth overview of what's going on. So make sure you subscribe, stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get back to this one. Well, that's actually it in terms of things that have gone wrong with the actual car itself. Well, no, I take that back. Bluelink. Bluelink has gone wrong. Bluelink has gone wrong many times. Yeah, the Bluelink app has been borderline unusable in some scenarios. You know, we've had the app go down 2 or 3 weeks at a time, multiple times, and sometimes, you know, I'll put in a request to unlock the doors and that'll take 2 minutes. Other times I'll try to preheat my cabin in the morning with remote climate start and it won't even work. It'll time out. So stuff like that just makes the Bluelink app completely not trustworthy, not reliable. So it's been really hard to use the Bluelink app. And that's why I, like so many of you, do not intend to renew the Bluelink subscription, because honestly, I was hoping Hyundai would cut ties with Bluelink once the contract is over, but apparently they've kind of doubled down on it. So yeah, Bluelink has definitely gone wrong throughout our car ownership with the Ioniq 5. We turn to the driver's door lock unlock. I believe it's the mechanism on the outside. When I lock or unlock in this SE, everything sounds fine, right? But when I do it in my limited trim, especially when it's cold outside, you'll hear this. Now, as for the current temperature right now, it is 33 degrees outside, and I'd say that's roughly the same temperature that it was happening with my Ioniq 5 Limited. Now, as soon as it gets warm outside, it stops doing it. But when it's cold, man, it's squealing. It's pretty loud. And the last thing that broke, which again, I don't think is Hyundai's fault, has to do with our glass windshield and our glass roof, which this SE does not have. But in any case, you may have seen it in previous videos. We were road tripping in the summer. Rock chip hit our windshield, which cracked, and then a rock also hit our roof, and that cracked the glass roof. I'm not sure if it was the same rock, two different rocks, but it happened exactly at the same time. That turned into a, man, 3-month repair journey, 4-month repair journey. Technically, it's still not over. We've been really dissatisfied with how State Farm has handled the claim. I basically sunk 150 of my own hours, just basically administrating my own claim, because they had outsourced it to Lynx, who then outsourced part of it to Sunroof Express, and it was just, yeah, it was a completely botched claim. That's probably a story that I'll share in depth in a separate video. You guys have probably seen bits and pieces of it, but there's more to it. That sums up this part 3 video, and now I can say that pretty much covers everything that's gone wrong with our Ioniq 5. A lot of little things, nothing major. We haven't had any 12-volt drain issues. We haven't had any charging issues. Honestly, the car's been reliable for us. It's just little things plus the liftgate issue that corporate and the dealership have not been able to address and have actually made worse. Anyways, that kind of wraps up this whole 3-part video. If you missed the other ones, I'll post a link somewhere above so you can take a look. I'd love to hear from all of you. How has your ownership experience been? Any major or minor issues? As always, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.